Hello, my name is Frances Fox. I'm a trained remote viewer. I am actually trained and practiced and studied in all the psychic skills, which all of you have, but they're in your energy bodies. And if you deny the part of you that's spiritual and energetic, then you don't have access to the parts of you that give you these skills, which include superpowers. I was part of a secret program. Now that all this information is coming out about sex trafficking, we're getting closer to where perhaps the information about these secret government programs, what they were about, and one of the reasons why I say it's associated with this information about sex trafficking is because I believe a lot of the victims of these mind control programs were sex trafficked like I was. And the deepest wound that you can do to a human is sexual abuse. And so it was a tool that was used to wound us, which made us even better mind control victims. What does it have to do with what's going on today? So I'm going to bet that most of you people don't know the definition of the word sex. The definition of the word sex is to cut and to divide. It's in the dictionary. I did not make that up. It's not a new definition. It's been the definition forever. And yet, that's what sex has done. We need to kind of ignore what's happening lately with the transgenders and the rest of that. From before that, the world was divided in two. According to the Bible, man, a human, was born, delivered, came to the earth, and supposedly God felt that the human was lonely. Sounds like a story to me. And then God created from this human a separate human that was a female. So we came into the planet whole. I don't believe the storyline about the fact that we were lonely. We were cut, we were divided, and then we had sex. We had male, female. And we've been trawling on through centuries, male, female. And if you could just imagine a circle, at the top is where we were when we separated from God. Human, no sex. Cut. We got female, male, female. We're trawling on down the cycles on planet Earth. We're at the bottom and we're on our way back to union with God. Guess what? We can't have a union with God unless we're complete. And complete doesn't mean that we're virgins or innocent or wonderful people or good people. This good and bad people is honestly, you really need to get updated on that because it's setting us all back. We have to be one complete unit before we can get back with God. In order to do that, we have to erase the line of sexuality. And I wrote a book about that together with Veronica del Castillo, and you know her sister. She's famous in Mexican in the movies. I forget her first name. And with Cecile Cachedorian. And my part was this that I'm telling you right now, with the definition of sex and what it is that happened in the process that we are in, which is a return to God. What does sex have to do with God? And this is because of what's going on in the news. Okay, and then I'll get back to my personal reaction to the news as a person that was sex trafficked. The ultimate goal of sex is orgasm. Okay, I don't know why that makes people uncomfortable to talk about that, but orgasm is a union of male and female energies. In energies, when you unify a male flow of energy and a female flow of energy, according to my electrician, who's just a very grounded and landed person, you get electricity. Male, female, you get electricity. There's one cable that's male, one cable that's female, you get electricity. When you get a male and a female and they have sex, you get a type of electricity, which is orgasm, which is you touch God for just a minute, but you still touch God. And it's such a phenomenal feeling that people yearn for it, particularly men. and I'm not going to go into my thoughts on why females are not quite so obsessed with sex, which really means they're obsessed with orgasm. So we have to become one within ourselves, at which time we're going to be like when you want to have electricity and you have the male, which I think is blue, and the female, which is red, the two electrical lines, you put them together and you get electricity. We have to be able to do that within ourselves. Okay, so that's what's going on in terms of human evolution. What does that have to do with what's going on today with the pornography and the sexual abuse and the perversions in sexuality? Now, first, let's go back. The sex is a line that divides male and female, which God did. Once we started to get people that were gay, they crossed the line. And then you got people that were bisexual and they went back and forth across the line. So the line got very blurry, which is actually a very good thing having to do with human evolution. It is not good for society. It is not comfortable for people that are older, particularly. It's not comfortable. This isn't the way it was. Yeah, but the was is not going to be very much longer. So, and then we have the whole trans thing, and I have to ask the dolphins about that, because what I notice is that there's an awful lot having to do with that whole trans, and that it doesn't have anything to do with sex. It has to do with your body looking like the opposite sex, but those people never talk about sex. And actually, the people that talk the most about sex aren't really getting any. They're not having any. They're not getting the orgasm. But I don't know what there is about that, but I will ask the dolphins and I will share with him. One of the best articles I ever wrote was about couples and sex and the different attitudes that men have about sex compared to women. It's on my website, francisfox.com. Just look up dolphins on sex. And I remember I had an employee I had just hired. I was very happy with her. And she read the article. We were doing, I don't know, whatever. The next day she came and she said, you know what, I'm leaving. And I said, oh, what happened? She says, I'm going back to New York. And she had come to Miami because she had broken up with a boyfriend. I think he was unfaithful. And she said, I read that article and I understand now. I get it. I get it. I need to forgive him. And she left. It's a very powerful article. The dolphins make a lot of sense. So you might want to read it. So we are here at a time in which there is obviously something really big going on in sex, because the whole thing with sex trafficking is about sex. The whole perversion is about sex, sexual perverts, and they're killing people in perverted ways. The whole thing with pornography is about sex. So it's all about orgasm, because the goal of sex is orgasm. And like I tell people, you know, when they have a relationship and they really like the guy, whatever. And I said, well, but have you had sex? No, not for a long time. But I said, well, you know that being a couple is about sex. Now, once you get older, and you can still stay functional, older, but that's not what's promoted. Okay, whatever. But, and I say to them, the only reason for two people to get together and be a couple is sex. If not, it's your brother, and it's a different relationship. And a lot of women don't get that. The men get it, but the women don't get it. So what is this whole thing with orgasm? Orgasm is ecstasy. It's human ecstasy. And if you want proof, you look up Santa Teresa de Avila, and a very famous sculpture called Bartolini, I believe his name was. He did a sculpture of her, and she did an autobiography. In the sculpture, she is obviously moaning in the pleasure of sex, but what she has next to her is an angel with a lance. And she describes it in her autobiography. It's actually embarrassing to think that nobody noticed this before, because when I show it to people, they go, oh my God, she's talking about sex in her autobiography. Saint Teresa. Saint Teresa. Okay. Why couldn't we say that she was having, by the way, she says spiritual orgasm. That's what spiritual orgasm is. Spiritual ecstasy, excuse me, which means it's orgasm. Okay, so what's the problem here? the face of, in the Western world, of this cycle of Pisces was Jesus Christ. He didn't have sex. Okay. No orgasm, no spiritual ecstasy, just plain hard work, turn the other cheek. So now I'm going to do a joke. So years ago I said, I want you to, in your head, line up a Buddhist monk, a priest, a rabbi, and a pastor. Who is it that has the smile on their face? Genuine pleasure. Not the rabbi, not the pastor, not the priest, the Buddhist monks. Why? Do they have sex? If they get high enough in hierarchy, they do, by the way. The only reason they don't have sex has to do with family, because it is felt that if they have family, a wife, girlfriend, whatever, they won't be able to dedicate themselves to the Buddhist path the way they do when they're monks. But it's not because sex is bad. When they get high enough in rank, they're allowed to have a couple. I had a high enough ranking Buddhist monk that wanted to have a relationship with me. Very elegant, very whatever, but not my style, not anything that I would want. But they don't have anything against sex. But the monks don't have sex because it deviates their attention. And but not the sex that deviates them, but the family. What do? They have exercises that they do that run the energies through their body and accomplish that spiritual ecstasy without having to have the partner. Because inside of us, we have male energies running through our body and female energies. Our right leg is male energy. Our left leg is female. They unite at the first chakra. They go back and forth like that symbol of medicine, caduceus. I don't remember how it's pronounced. So everything today is about sex, but we just left an era. We haven't left. We're leaving an era in which the top dog, and I love Jesus. So don't anybody question that, because then I'm going to start questioning you about your life. I'm going to question you as whether you spend your whole life finger pointing at other people because of that book that Jesus Christ never even saw, because it was written 300 years after he left. So don't you be questioning me and my relationship with Jesus Christ, because mine is closer than yours, and I live more like Jesus Christ than practically any of the people that are there waving the book around and pointing fingers. Jesus never pointed fingers. You see a finger pointing Christian, Jesus would be really unhappy with that. Why are they pointing their finger? Why aren't they going and being compassionate with that person that obviously has got a problem that they're pointing the finger at? Give me a break. And I don't really care if this distresses people. So the face of the era that we're leaving, no spiritual ecstasy. And then we enter and we have a lot of people that are free sex, free love, whatever, which got truncated in the 60s. Because you see, society cannot survive if we live the way the dolphins say that we should live. The dolphins say that sex is like physical love and that there's really no reason to restrict it. When they told me that, I said, you know what? I'm not putting this out because I'm going to get crucified. I did put it out. And everybody gets uncomfortable, but they don't question it. See, they get uncomfortable, but they don't question it. I get uncomfortable. I'm rather conservative in the way I live. But that's the truth. Why are we restricting? Why are we restricting it? Because the society that we have set up does not allow for a free flow of love. Doesn't do it, much less physical love. It doesn't allow for sensuality, which is really, sensuality is like when you want to just touch somebody and there's love coming from your hand to that person, you're actually giving them healing. No. You can do that with a small baby. If it gets a little bit bigger, you got a problem, like Biden, who is a Scorpio, and Scorpios are very sensuous, and he touches. I don't know if he does something beyond, maybe he does, but he's a Scorpio. So there is kind of like an explanation for that. And maybe there's more, and maybe the Scorpio took him into the dark places. I don't know. But the truth of the matter is his astrological sign kind of explains it. So we're in a time in which what is dominating the news all has to do with sex. Now, how many love songs do you know that are not about your mate, a couple, a woman that you want, a man that you want. Very few. Now we have several about Trump. Okay, I like it, but how many? Very little. So it's a really big, big theme in human life that has gotten totally distorted. Now, how did it get totally distorted? I'll tell you. But it's going to go in one ear and out the other. So try to kind of like breathe. Maybe hold your hands in the Apana Mudra, the two center fingers touching your thumbs, putting it on your thighs. Make sure your 2 feet on the ground. And I'm going to tell you what sex has to do with having to do with what's going on today on the planet. How interesting. My left hand is almost, it did something really weird. Okay. Everything has to do with ETs. Everything, including and particularly sex. In the Catholic Church, they have classifications of spirits. I cannot believe the pain that's going through my left hand. It is unbelievable. Okay, we'll figure that out later. So, the Catholic Church has this classification. The Buddhists do also, and I'm sure everybody else does also. Most people don't know that the Catholic Church has that classification, and it's not hidden. The most distressing, disturbing, and difficult spirits are called incubus and succubus. They have to do with sex. If you got one of those, they come in through the left side of the head, and they go down to your second energy center, which is the sacred sexual energy center. And they go to sleep there until there's an opportunity for them to come up and just completely destroy your life, which they will. Those are the spirits that are the ones that change people the most, the ones that turn people into zombies, that eat people, and da. But they come in through sexual issues. So we have an entire society that is spinning around all these sexual issues, because even the trans is a sexual issue, not accepting what they were born in. Then you have the people that are gay, that they legitimately are gay, and I absolutely believe that. But society doesn't totally accept that, and their parents who are older don't. They love their kid, but they really don't. And it creates a lot of shame. Well, shame is the lowest vibration that human beings have. So you have a significant segment of people on the planet that are gay, and a significant segment of them have a lot of shame, which makes them totally vulnerable to these spirits, the incubus and succubus, which are the worst ones that have entered the planet until now. Then you have the people into pornography. If you are into pornography, there's something the matter with you and sex. There's no other explanation. You can roam the universe and come up with another excuse. Well, I really, haven't found a person that's a good partner. No, there's a problem with that. It is a door to darkness, to those spirits. And it's an addiction. Why is it an addiction? Because it has spirits attached to it to make sure that you get addicted. So today, all the news is the most important lawsuits against Trump had to do with sex. The whole thing with this rapper and Epstein all had to do with sex. What do the spirits and the intelligence community do if they want to control someone? Because the intelligence community is just like the negative spirits. They go after people either through sex or through money. Very rarely is it other. In terms of people like in the mind control program, I know they got to me through love of my little sister, my little brother, my children, but then there was a lot of perverted sex. So most of what's in the news revolves around the issue, the theme of sex, and nobody knows anything. Nobody knows the definition. You go to a therapist, okay, you've got you're a sex addict. They don't even know the definition of the word. Now, my living master from years ago said to me that I did not have the right to talk about anything unless I first looked it up in the dictionary. So when I was writing a book called Psychic Sexual Secrets, which I'll get out someday when I can get all these bad guys off of me, and I looked up sex and I was like, oh my God, this is huge. How many people know that definition? Only the people that listen to me. So we've got to wrap our heads around what is the real issue. We are losing our spiritual connection. Orgasm is spiritual ecstasy because of the distortion with sex, because we didn't know what the heck it was about, and we put too many restrictions on it. You cannot restrict people in something that's a fundamental need, just like having enough food and enough water. You can't. You're going to get a distortion someplace. But we did it. Society did it in order to establish a society that could be bigger and ongoing. But we didn't do a good job. If we were going to do that, then we should go ahead and go to the Buddhists, who are the only people that I know that can do that, and say, what do you do with the monks? Because we want to restrict everybody in society. They cannot have sex every time they want it unless they have a partner. Okay? And after 25 years, it still has to be that same partner. Give me a break. Please, give me a break. Give me a break. It's obviously not working. So what am I doing here? I'm giving you information. I'm just throwing it all out there, everything that I have collected through decades. I have always been very interested in sex, and not just because I was trafficked sexually as a child and also as an adult. Because you see, the authorities are really no good when it comes to wanting protection from the bad guys, the really big bad guys, because a lot of them are part of the system. There's nobody to call because they're probably part of it if they're a figure of authority. There's nobody to call. And try telling your family and friends if you've kept it secret for years. Oh, no, that can't be possible. So this society is very mixed up, and we're very mixed up with something as basic as sex, which is like needing food and needing water. And we allowed a distortion, the people in this part of the world that follow the biblical version of Jesus Christ, which is not Jesus Christ. And I'm going to stop worrying about people trying to take me down because of these opinions, because you know what? You don't have to be a rocket scientist, and you don't need quotations. All you need to do is common sense. How does society continue if people don't have sex? Do you really think that Jesus Christ was going to be promoting something to where society would basically end? No, no. How did we let ourselves get here? Somebody said this is good, and we're so desperate to be good people and to follow the rules, which means we're totally dominated by male-dominated hierarchy, which is not just males, it can be females, that we basically destroyed people's ability to be able to live a full life. Orgasm is spiritual ecstasy. Look at St. Teresa's biography, look at the statue, and you'll go, oh my God, how did I not see that? How did nobody see that? Yes, I know I'm very bright, and I'm an observant. I try to figure people out. There's a lot of very bright people out there. Why didn't they see that? What is their explanation? They don't have one. They go, oh my God, I never saw that, but you're right. Oh my God. We have to get this figured out because everybody is getting mentally ill because of their relationship with sex. Either because they're being judgmental, they're not having enough, they don't understand it, they don't know the value of it, they're not teaching the children that. We don't need to get this right. We need to start a process of trying to understand what's going on. So all the news was dominated by the trial with Trump that had to do with sex. And then it was Gerstein, sex. And now it's this Diddy guy with sex. The main thing that I see that they're pulling out having to do with Kamala has to do with her using her female whatever to get to the top. They haven't really said much, so I think maybe they don't have that much on her, having to do with that, those innuendos. But we need, we're reaching the end and we still don't understand something so basic as sex. We don't even know the definition of it, which, by the way, the root definition of words is usually energetic. When I looked up the word intention, I almost fell off my chair. The word intention in the definition means the stretching of the mind towards something. And that is exactly what the mind does. And the person that understands that a lot is Elon Musk. So let me give you a sketch of what happens to the human mind when they have an intention. See that vector? That's an intention vector. And see those green particles? Those are particles of chi that are entering the back of that martial artist because he is so focused on breaking that board. And if I don't find it again, I won't be able to take it off the screen. So I have to find it here. Oh dear. I swear I have a little devil that is making me blind when I need to find something important. Okay. So we need to get the sex thing figured out. So for those of you that are wondering how I have been since Friday, which is when the whole Diddy thing kind of broke, I spent a lot of times crying. And I'll tell you why I'm crying. Because they talk about Justin Bieber and how he tried to get help. How the words in his song are talking about the pain that he was in. And nobody listened. You could see this guy manhandling him and nobody did anything. Welcome to the club, Justin Bieber. That's the world for you. All full of really nice people who are either dumb as a rock or totally irresponsible emotionally. Socially, they want to be correct. To hell with society. Look where it has brought us. So when I get on X and there's entirely too much about this, I can't get away from the different posts about this issue. If anybody who has been through this and is still fighting against it, because those people that did that to me are still around, I no longer live on their block anymore. Some of them, because there's a ton of them. I mean, this whole thing, who was it that said? I think it was Kennedy. Said, no, they're all dead. No, they're not. Most of them are, I guess. I don't know. But no. And people like me, it doesn't help to know that this is going to be like a piece of chewing gum. You keep pulling it and pulling it to see when it breaks. Maybe it'll break. We're not getting any help now. And we're certainly not getting any protection from the bad guys, all of whom are scrambling. The main guy that was my handler, that would love to be my handler again and would love to tell his bosses that he got me under control, is working full time with black magic and with threats to see if he can't get me under his control again so he can have his, I can't say that he can have his job back. I think he's always going to have a job because he's really good at what he does, which is black magic. He's really good. Nobody's going to be firing him anytime soon. But maybe they've told him 1,000 times to get off of my back, and he's not giving up because he doesn't have any reason to, because there's no blankety blank consequences, because nice people are really irresponsible. So I'm going to get to the next subject, and I know I'm taking a long time. Do you know what's the matter with those Karens and those liberals? That if you scratch the surface a little bit, they get like raving maniacs? They are emotionally dishonest. Who did I get that expression from? The dolphins. One of my clients wanted to go visit the dolphins at this aquarium. And I went, sure, let's go. Why not? So we went there and we were walking around the tanks, and the dolphins said, okay, we have a message. And they gave me a message, which is now an article. It's called Emotional Dishonesty. It's on my website. And it says that we are supposed to be emotionally honest, because if we're not, it basically breaks us. And it does, because when you're not emotionally honest, I'm not sure their exact words. This was years ago and I haven't actually read it for years. But when you're not emotionally honest, you're showing something, and then behind that is something different. Well, that means that there's a break in your system. You are not at one with your astral spirit. Like, may the force be with you. That means may your astral spirit be with you, which is your astral emotional body. When you're not emotionally honest, your astral spirit is over here. And here's your smiling face that cannot tolerate anybody getting angry. But the level of anger that, because it ferments when you don't process it, the level of anger is, and that's what you're getting with too many liberals. Their concepts of helping everybody else, of being nice and being good. I get it. I get it. We all want to be just good people because we don't feel good, supposedly, because we feel like we got rejected from God, whatever. I don't believe that either, but that's okay. But we don't have to be good. What we have to be is truthful. And when you get other people that are truthful and they will say an unpleasantry and they will say something that's not politically correct or is not what we would want ideally, then they're not nice people. No, they're being truthful. The truth of the matter is that and I'm going to say it, you know what? What the hell? What do I have to lose? When Trump started with the whole thing with the immigrants, I am an immigrant twice. Okay? Illegal immigrant twice. I was technically in jail for 2 years when I was from 2 to 4. Came from Europe, born into a program. Why did they give my father papers? Who knows? So I know all about being an immigrant. So and I'm half Cuban and I identify as Cuban, and my husband was Cuban and my kids born in this country, but if you ask them, they're Cuban. Okay, there's nothing the matter with that. So when Trump started with the whole thing about the immigrants, everybody got upset. He doesn't like the Mexicans. Doesn't, and he doesn't like my people. What's going on here? He has a very wide lens and long vision, like my control did. My control used to plan things, and if he made an important decision, he taught me this. You have to look ahead 100 years from now. What is this decision going to do? 50 years, 25 years, 10 years, and 5 years. What is the effect of this decision that you're making? Most people don't think like that. He trained me to think like that, which really means you have to expand your lens. So Trump had an expanded lens, was saying we can't tolerate this. But those of us that were immigrants, we didn't like that. Well, today, most immigrants here that have been here for a long time say we cannot have this lack of control. But we couldn't see it when Trump could see it. And he wasn't saying it because he didn't like Mexicans. He was saying it because he could see what was coming. And that's a big problem with visionaries. When you have put them in a position of power, in a position where a lot of people can listen to them, unless you're saying nice things, you're going to upset a lot of people. So what can I say other than we have an immigration issue that we're now all holding hands on? This is too much. We need to control it. We need to wrap our heads around the sex thing. Our kids, 2 generations of kids have been destroyed. We actually should wrap our heads around the fact that we are in a process of human evolution that was said wasn't going to be easy. We need to understand what the definition of sex is. We need to understand that we're no longer there. Once there started to be gays, we're no longer there with that division. That line is blurred. But that means we're closer to God. The ascension process. We need to get it that the ultimate ascension process, we have to be complete, and we're not complete unless we've done an awful lot of internal work, such as what the Buddhists do. We're not complete. We still are very much male, female. You know, people that are more complete but are neurotic and a mess are the people that are born on the cusp of 2 astrological signs. If they're born like on the 21st or the 22nd of a month, they're what I call cusp babies. I feel so bad for them because their next sign, they're in one sign and a foot in the other sign. The signs are different signs. One is male, one is female. So they're born half male, half female. So they can see everything from two different points of view within their own head. And it's not fun. So if you have a kid or you're married to somebody who's a cuss baby, 21st or 22nd, and I'm the one that came up with this concept, okay? You have somebody that can be very neurotic or very unhappy because they can see both sides. Because when you're a female, you see things from a female point of view. You're a male, you know, a male point of view. But if you could see both points of view, it's really hard to move forward on anything. But these are the people that come in, they sacrifice themselves in order to help us, for us to find that maybe there's a middle way. Maybe it's not male, female. And here we go again with the whole thing of we cannot reunite with God unless we are one piece. God separated us, cut us in two, but we came in complete. We want to go back, we have to be complete. And that's the process we're in now. And yes, it's one hell of a mess. So, how am I dealing with the whole sex stuff in the news? Crying a lot. I feel bad for the people. The same way I felt bad when I was in the program and I saw what they did to the other kids. I felt worse for them than I felt for me. Probably a displacement. I'm sure psychologists would say she's displacing. They're probably correct, but I really felt worse for them. I couldn't take it. Actually, I'm hard of hearing because I couldn't take the screaming. We actually, in our group, the Mantrista group, we did 2 sessions on YouTube. I wish we had it in English. We laughed our way after the first 10 minutes, and we still did a second session. The people that had problems with tinnitus, sounds in their ears and ringing, and they couldn't hear well, every single person that I used my remote viewing skills that are very good on them to find out the root cause, every single person had parents or people that argued when they were young and they couldn't stand it. So they kind of like blocked their ears and they continued with great hearing or great whatever until decades later. And then it kicked in, which is what happens when you get sick from an organ. The root cause is generally decades earlier. So, anyway, ending it on a funny note, if you got problems with hearings or you got tinnitus, chances are there was a lot of screaming going on or fighting when you were a child. In my case, there were a lot of screaming kids. They would actually do it on purpose. They would actually torture my brother, who was the love of my life when he was born. They would torture him so that I could hear the screams. And if they wanted something, well, what about your brother? Well, what is it that you do want? Okay, so let's try and hold hands on this whole sex trafficking thing, because the people that are doing it are also, they've been invaded by really bad spirits, which doesn't mean that they don't get any type of punishment. It means that we look at that and go, that's an awful lot of them. What's the matter with us as a society? What do we need to take care of so that this doesn't continue? Okay, so then we are going to do 10 minutes of a mantra, and not sure which, but give me a second and we will get it figured out. Well, I don't have any of them here. You know what? We're all exhausted. So let's do that one. Even though I'm exhausted, I love and accept myself. You know what? People like me, we're exhausted. We don't know when you guys are going to get your act together, okay? You guys are going to get your act together and do something about this so that the bad guys can finally sit down and stop bothering those of us. We're getting victimized still because you have not done enough for them to stop. Or if you say you're going to kill them, like Trump is saying, they're going to execute them. That's even worse for people like us. So be a little bit more thoughtful or make it happen quick. Don't keep extending this. It's really not fair. Okay. So even though I'm exhausted, I love and accept myself. Let me get some music. We'll do 5 or 6 minutes because I certainly did a lot of talking. Exhausted. we're going to want to go with the root chakra, power. So let's do this for 5 minutes. Problem? No, you can't hear it? Okay, that one is not working for some reason. So let me go back. And let's choose another one. Oh, this is the one for sex. Okay. I actually don't know what to do about this. Oh, you can hear it, but I can't hear it. Okay. So 5 minutes of the mantra. And this is the mantra for the second sexual chakra. Okay? Okay, we finished. Okay, then we will see you tomorrow. And let's move along, having to do with looking at why everything in the news is about sex and it's not just about one person. Almost everything rolls back to that theme, and we haven't figured it out. We don't even know the definition. Thank you for joining me.